Welcome back to this already, the final segment of today's Price of Business, and it's been a fun one as usual. Delighted to be with you, talking about you and your business. Charles Alvarez, he comes in each week with this interesting perspective of what's going on out there in business, with great insights with his company that he enjoys over there at Cornerstone Business Academy, which is cornerstonebusinessacademy.com, and the people he meets along the way. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Cornerstone Business Academy and introduce us to your guest today?
Well, thanks, Taylor. Always good to be on the show. We work with business owners that generate anywhere between $10 million and $100 million in sales. And we work with them to increase their sales by 25 to 35% over a 6 to 12 month basis, or we just simply give them the money back. Because the last thing that we hate is wasting clients' time and money when they're not elevating their business. And speaking of elevating somebody's business, we have Jane Henry, who is the CEO of Execution, with us. Jane, welcome to the show.
Hi, Charles. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, welcome to the program. Why don't you start off with your elevator speech, giving us a little information about yourself and your company.
Excellent. Execution is a management consulting company based here in Houston. We specialize in bringing businesses to the next level of performance.
It's called execution, but nobody gets hurt. All right, tell us. Charles,
We
not
might.
yet, huh? Okay, you never know though. So some people might lose jobs, in order to pursue that efficiency. So that was a little bit of an ouch, but I like the name. It's pretty cool. I thought you guys might have been involved in providing the drugs used for death penalty cases at first when I saw the name of your company, but it's nothing like that. It's more like execution in a business matter, and it's called Execution, just for clarity. The letter X, CUTION.com. Go ahead, Charles.
So, Jane, walk us through what is a typical business issue that your clients are facing, and how does Execution help add value and overcome the challenges that your clients are having?
So our company does business with both the corporate and small business side. It was actually one of our Fortune 100 clients that asked us to start consulting in small business, and the purpose of that is they really wanted to scale this supplier. So that's the typical challenge, is how to scale small businesses.
Yeah, I bet. Kind of give us an overview of the size of companies you generally work with. Is it primarily smaller businesses, or is there a range involved?
So we have about 20% of our business works with small business, and the rest of our portfolio are with the majors. So we do work with ExxonMobil, BP, those sorts.
Right. So you have a pretty broad range.
Yes.
What would you say your sweet spot is in that range?
Well, the thing is that we do work with folks that are, 5 to 20 person teams. And that's really our sweet spot, is the number of people that they're looking for us to engage with. So that can come in all shapes and sizes depending on what corporate or small business we're working with.
Okay. Charles, I asked several questions. You go right ahead.
So, Jane, kind of walk us through a case study or an example of, one of the issues that one of your clients were facing, and, what did you do to address it, and what was the final outcome?
Well, we helped a structural engineering firm that was highly successful. They're doing a great job. So from the outside, they looked very successful, and the owner was on the verge of giving up. He was frustrated because he was working harder and harder, and he didn't feel that he was gaining the same contributions from his staff. And that was the funny thing, is he'd created this business for his staff. He was really a people-oriented person. After speaking with him, we were able to identify the key areas in which he can move into more of a quality assurance role and delegate some of those efforts and get him back to a 30-hour work week.
That's interesting. And so typically... Oh, go ahead. I promised you more than one question there. Go right ahead. I'm chatty today. I'm just chatty Cathy. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, I'm just curious, Jen, on that example, what did that do to his sales? I mean, did he see a decrease in sales because he wasn't working as hard? Did his business start backsliding, or did it actually increase? It
did. It actually grew 30%.
Wow. So that's impressive.
So much for the myth of having to work harder to make more money. Huh?
Right.
Yeah, it's all about working smarter, which is what companies apparently like Execution do, and certainly I know you do over there at Cornerstone Business Academy. Yeah. Let me ask you, in terms of verticals, are there particular verticals that are attracted to what you do?
So vertical-wise, oil and gas. A lot of companies in the oil and gas sector tend to engage us. We've done a lot of work in upstream as well as midstream. And then, of course, a lot of engineering groups and IT groups. Maybe the folks that are a little bit stronger in their technical expertise, but not as strong from a people perspective.
Charles?
So what do you find, Jen? I'd just be curious to get your thoughts on it. What do you find is some of the biggest mind blocks that, a typical, what I would call a technical company, like an engineering firm, an oil and gas service firm, these are companies that are very, very, they require a lot of technical skill sets. And a lot of those companies, they get into those businesses because they say, well, why should I make my boss rich? I can make somebody rich on my, I can do what my boss does. I'm just going to go create my own company. And then they get into that company and realize, oh my gosh, the skill set required to run an engineering company is much different than being an engineer for that company. Kind of walk me through that and kind of how your business helps solve that issue.
Absolutely. So when you think about those businesses that are really looking to scale, inevitably they wouldn't have stepped out if they didn't have some combination of people, processes, and systems that were working for them, maybe as a solo practitioner or a smaller group. And so what we find is the skill sets and the mindsets that took them to that first level to be successful are not necessarily the ones that they're going to take to the next level. And then I think you mentioned that, Charles, is in that mindset. We call it EQ, or emotional quotient. Mm-hmm. People tend to not think about those things, and the way they show up are finite planning assumptions. So if you go back to this structural engineer, and you think about some of the things that were blocking him, one of the things that he had made a finite planning assumption around was that he wasn't going to hire any other licensed structural engineers because he was fearful that they would steal his business away. Mm-hmm. So when you think about that, that's really hard to scale if you're not going to hire any more licensed structural engineers. So for him, we looked at that and we made it aware that this is our finite planning assumption. And so then we started looking at, okay, how can we optimize his customer portfolio? If that is an assumed number of folks that you can have to deliver the work, then what's the number of clients that you can take on at any given time?
Jane, how old is your company?
I started the company by accident in 2001. So we're just over 14 years here.
And how was 2014, and what are your expectations for 2015?
Oh, we're going to blow it out of the water.
Oh, good. And how many employees do you all have?
We had 20 consultants today, and we've been on the Fast 100 for the last 5 years in the top 10. So we're about overachievers. We're a group of overachievers, so I plan on doubling in size this year.
Charles, why don't you wrap it up for us today?
Look, Jen is a great entrepreneur, a great CEO, and a great consultant. Most of y'all, our listeners, may be asking, why on earth would I have what seems to be perceived as a competitor on the show? And the simple reason is because she's fantastic, and there is more demand for consulting services than there is supply. And I think Jane is excellent at what she does. So, Jane, thank you for being on our show, and keep up the good work.
Oh, thank you, Charles.
Yeah, absolutely. Great job, Jane, and great job, as usual, Charles Alvarez. You can learn more about him at cornerstonebusinessacademy.com. And then, of course, you can learn about our friend Jane Henry at Execution, and that's the letter XCUTION.com. Thanks to both of you.
Thank you.
When we come back tomorrow, we're going to have much more for you. I do want to remind you the show continues 24/7 at CrisisBusiness.com, and the best content here can be found over there at USDataReview.com. Have a great day. Spend it wisely right here on this station.